kind of, obviously it's on your system, but just being out there in the practice field with the drills that you want to run?
Yeah, I think it's progressed quickly. The install, what we've been able to teach during the winter, nothing has been full speed, but with the staff that I was able to bring and have a few players that have been with me before, I think the install is really ahead of schedule. Today was the first day we get to see anything full speed, so the individual player evaluation is still a long way away, but I'm happy with the progress we've made so far.
Adam?
Yeah, Coach, when you obviously don't have to coach a position right now 100%. When you're walking around at practice, what's your process? Are you looking at individual players, at drills? What are you kind of stowing in the back of your mind to evaluate later?
Yeah, most of it is individual players. I'm trying to learn the players, what they do well, what they need to work on. Obviously, when you structure a defense, in the beginning it becomes less about what I know and more about what the guys can do. So when I walk around a lot, I'm really doing those individual evaluations and trying to learn the players.
Patrick?
Jim, what is 2 or 3 things that you feel like you guys need to get done during the course of spring? What's sort of the to-do list, and what does it need to happen for you guys to say this was a good spring for this defense?
We need to put the players in as many different positions or situations so we can learn what they do best. That's the first thing. The overall installation of the scheme and the learning involved and the teaching, that's second. We want to make sure that they understand the concept. So learn what they can do, understand the concepts, and then it's just, building that culture where the guys believe that when they take the field, that they're in control of the game. It's that building confidence that's really important.
Great.
Yeah, Coach, I know that you've done this multiple times in terms of installing in spring in 2 places. Is every situation uniquely different? Is there something different about this? Or is there some standards that you've kind of built through the last 3 or 4 times doing this that you really lean on?
Yeah, in the past, there was a lot of similarities with, getting these installs done and getting things accomplished. I think it's changed a lot, with the transfer portal. And the fact that here, I was able to bring some coaches with me. This is different. This is different. The fact that we have coaches who already understand the system and what we like to do, and then we have a few players have been in it. That's unique. I haven't been in that before. So I think it gives us really a step up. And, I know there were some struggles last year on defense, but the year before that, they were pretty good. So I think there is, we're not starting at ground zero. I mean, there are players here that remain here who have experienced success. So that makes this situation different also.
Adam?
It seems to be important to you that you know what each player can do well. You said that. During your career, was there any point where you sort of learned the value of a specialized skill set with a player, that really mattered?
Yeah, when I was at Duke, I really began to learn how critical that was. When you're in a situation where you may not be as physically talented as your opponents, you have to really put the players in the right position so that they can succeed. individual, what that player does best and how I can put him in position to succeed. And also with the mindset of change, right, of being adaptable and based on the type of players that you have. And then even more so when I moved to the Big 12 because, at the time everybody was taking a lot of deep shots and throwing the ball over the place. So, between started at Duke and really to the Big 12 where I had to learn to adjust, and change based on players, but also based on what the league is like and what you're going to face. And, a lot of guys get in trouble, I think, as coaches as you get older in your career when you just say, well, this is the way I'm going to do it and everybody's going to do it this way and this is what I know. That constant learning process for the individual, also what you're facing, that's when it really started to change for me and kind of clicked.
Eric?
One of those players, what does Amari Campbell do well, and how critical is he at a leadership position at linebacker to kind of accelerate? You talk about having coaches with familiarity. He's one of those guys that obviously can impact a lot of players.
Yeah, so Amari was the quarterback of the defense for us last year, so he knows the system inside and out. He has things he has to get better at, his tackling and open space. And we've been able to study those things to start to give him an advantage to get better. But in terms of that's already a strong room, right? The linebacker room is really strong. So, just an example, like pre-practice when we're going through some adjustments and things that we may not see against our offense, right? You got to kind of throw some things in there throughout spring that you're not seeing against the offense because they're coming. And we faced a situation. Amari wasn't in there; he was standing back with me, and the linebacker that was in there didn't get the check right. And Amari's like, "Hey man, you want me to get in there and do it for him?" You got to let them learn. But he could see it happening and understands what the check needed to be. So that's a big advantage.
We'll finish with Brent.
Yeah, I'm curious from a physicality standpoint in becoming a better tackling team. I'm sure that is a point of emphasis when you've evaluated. How do you go about becoming a better tackling team, kind of in this day and age we're in? How do you practice that?
Well, we do have the advantage of the video, and we have Coach Bono on special teams who has really studied it. Like he was able to go back to all our current players and the players who transferred and break down all their tackles or missed tackles over the course of their career, and you kind of put them into categories of how they missed, why they missed, what they did well, so you can build like an individual tackling reel and teach for each player, which is really unique. And then we don't tackle anybody in practice, right? So you have to really be coaching body position, and it becomes more of a mental game. I try to teach the guys that you have to mentally tackle. Something has to click in your brain that as you go to approach that ball carrier or receiver, what's your technique going to be in this particular situation, and we try to evaluate that on film just to get them into the right body position based on where the ball is on the field. What's the support structure? Am I inside? Am I outside? All those things change your leverage and how you're going to approach the tackle. It's not really a tackle, right? So you're just trying to coach fit position and talking to the player and saying, okay, when you're able to show them the film, break down position, what kind of tackle would you have used right here in this situation? What were you thinking? See if it clicks in their mind, because a lot of guys early on they just run around, right? So you're trying to coach the actual tackle, even though it didn't happen, more from just a position and a mental standpoint.
Eric had one follow-up.
Yeah, follow up to that. Did you say it's every career tackle for every player, or is it?
Yep, every career tackle for every player. Yeah, and all their misses. And you can put them into into categories on the ones that were successful, why they were successful, the ones that weren't, why they weren't. So you can show, each guy has their own tackling reel, throughout their career. So you're able to show them the different situations where the ball was on the field, what kind of play was it, what type of tackle you used, and what you didn't use and could have done.
On special teams too?
Special teams too. Yeah. And that's Coach Bottle really, he does a great job with that. Like when I came here, he had a whole tackling report, along with the individual cut-ups, and you can sit there and watch. And we really need to use that. Didn't have quite as much a chance this year, but in the future, you need to use that in your decisions you're making on the transfer portal. You know what I'm saying? Because you can watch the player on film, but when you have an individual tackling breakdown, because the job of the defense is to stop the ball to get guys on the ground, so it's really an ultimate evaluator when you're looking at transfer portal guys and guys who played, the speed of the game and how things happened and where they missed and why they missed and make decisions on, okay, is that something we can fix? Or this tackling is, it's like stripping the ball, right? I mean, like some guy, you see the guys that are like naturally good, that, you're trying to coach that technique to strip the ball. Some guys are just really good at it, same thing with tackling, really picked up at Oklahoma State because we have a lot of wrestlers, like wrestlers get people on the ground, so that wrestling, that kind of background, can help in your recruiting or your decisions.
Is doing that in practice ever going to be an option again in how the game is now?
I don't think so. I mean, you may have a couple live situations, I'm sure Coach Hypo will put us in some live tackling situations, but you don't do it that much because you're trying to save the player on both sides, offense and defense. And also, even when you're live against your own team, you're not going to cut tackle, or tackle low. So that can build bad habits. If I'm a guy you see in the game, guys are going to pull the trigger, shoot the guy, cut it. Even when you're going live against your own offense, you're not going to do that. So it's a difficult proposition or something. I'm glad we've adjusted to it, for the health of the player. But now you have to be creative in how you teach them all these things with, having these tackling breakdowns, and these drills, and then coaching, even in a non-tackling situation, your body position. And asking the player, like you can put the foot up there, okay, what kind of tackle were you going to use right here? He says one thing to your body, your body's not in the right position to use that tackle. So I think that's the best you can do. It's good for the game.